You know who we forgot to mention? The school district.
Oh, yeah.
And the college. And the churches. Oh man, I'm gonna fry. You know, the amount of volunteers that it took to pull that off, and they did it with a smile, was something else. A lot of pie was consumed. We're good? Mark, we're good. Gary, we're good. And just like that. Okay, I'm also was requested that item number 4 be taken off the consent agenda. So with those changes, number 4 and number 7, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Yepes Gomez,
Yes.
Cahill. Yes. Fonseca. Yes.
Okay. Moving on to number 4.
Resolution setting a public hearing on a proposed amendment to Chapter 156 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Marshalltown, Iowa, establishing a temporary data center moratorium.
Your Honor. Move to approve.
Need a motion.
Need a motion.
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. A second.
Second.
Okay.
I was the one who pulled this. We have not done enough discussion about what the benefits are to the Marshalltown taxpayer, Marshall County taxpayer, everybody. These projects will generate a tremendous amount of revenue for the city, the school district, the county, the community colleges. Just rough math, for every $1 billion of development, expect about $1 million to go into the city's general fund. Expect $1 million to go to the school district's budget. About $400,000 to the county and $200,000 to the community college. These are real dollars in times where our property tax revenue is being squeezed every single year. We're going to face a big shortfall in our general fund this coming year. It's not every day that somebody hands you a golden goose, and I think we need to be really careful that we don't chase that goose away before we even have the chance to collect some eggs. We hear all the time that, oh, you're going to have to pay a lot of money to get this project in. We don't need to pay anything. There's no incentives being given, no incentives being offered for these projects. These are partners that are coming to invest in Marshalltown, to become part of the community. And so I think we need to welcome them. Of course, we need to be careful with what resources they consume. The big topic is water and water use. And frankly, there's no water to give them. These are rational actors. Nobody is coming here and proposing a data center that's evaporative cooling, which means the water. What they'll use is similar to air conditioning. It'd be water-free dry cooling. So I think we should just take this water usage, water pollution off the table for this discussion. Yes, they are large electrical users. But as a community, we've been setting up for decades to get the power here in this community for that, for manufacturing, whatever it is. Nobody really saw this AI boom coming that's happening. It wasn't even possible 10 years ago for many reasons, but you know, the genie is not going back in the bottle. This is an extremely important technology to businesses, to medical innovations, to national security, and we have a chance to be part of this and benefit from it financially, as well as all the other second order effects of these types of technologies. So I really do think we need to think closely and not introduce a moratorium. We do have strong zoning regulations in place already to cover noise, to cover setbacks, to cover all sorts of things. So I am opposed to this moratorium. So people say, well, it's not going to bring enough jobs to town. Well, if we're talking 50 to 250 jobs in a town the size of 27,000, that's nothing to shake a stick at. That's pretty good. If somebody wanted to come to town and have 1,000 jobs, we don't have enough people. We would have to import people, which is great, but what would happen is we'd be poaching from current employers. So I think this is just the right fit at just the right time. And saying no is easy to do. That's what this community has done for too long. We finally started saying yes to deals, and so I think we need to continue that. So we can say yes to this. We can fund community needs and wants, get all of our priorities taken care of, or we can keep approving licenses for vape shops and liquor stores. It's our choice.
Any other comments up here?
If I may, I have a question. When this was first proposed to us,
they said it would bring 7 jobs to Marshalltown. Now all of a sudden it's jumped up to 50 to 200.
We don't have any deals on the table. We just have prospects. And based on what other communities are experiencing with these projects that are turning out really well, it all depends on who comes to town. But yes, those are good numbers.
Thank you.
Anything else up here?
Your Honor.
Yes.
So I did some, with all this thing and all the things talked about between water and energy, there's been a lot of conversation. So I called Alliant to find out what their concerns and view was. So this is basically, they give me 4 points from that. Alliant Energy's commitment to customers make it clear. Data centers pay all the cost for infrastructure improvements to serve their load. Point 2. Alliant Energy was able to commit not to raise our rates from 2025 to 2029 because of the expectation of load growth in data centers. Iowa has had large data centers for more than a decade in cities such as Des Moines and Council Bluffs, and these areas have not experienced a rate increase. ITC Midwest has already announced that transmission rates will fall as much as 20% by 2030 thanks to low growth in data centers. So 2 concerns I've heard are energy and the water. And the water, as Jeff said, I think is quoting like very old resources in the way they used to do it. That's not the way things are done anymore. And energy, idea of spreading the load over a data center would just make things more consistent for all of us. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
I'm going to take the other side of the coin here. We're not saying we don't want a data center. We're saying this came upon us and kind of caught us off guard because we didn't have something in our planning and zoning ordinances specifically for this type of structure. Clayton Ender, who is our planning and zoning guru, says, you know, for lack of a better description, he's going to put these under utilities. Well, it's not really a utility. So we have asked Planning and Zoning Commission, Clayton Ender, to take some time, have public engagement, and that I think that their itinerary has been posted that has open houses and has public forums and involvement. This moratorium, and I know some people don't like the word, it's just a 4-month pause. And in the big scheme of things, these buildings aren't going to get built in 4 months. I don't understand, 4 months is nothing in the thing. And like I told another counselor earlier, once we approve the recommendations that come to us from planning and zoning, and if we all agree and we approve those amendments to our planning and zoning ordinance that defines places, defines setbacks, defines everything else, how would I vote no on that? Because it meets the requirements that we put in place. This moratorium is not the step that says we don't want data centers or we do want data centers. All this says is let the professionals that do this, the people that have been appointed to the committees, Clayton, who we've hired, let's get input on both sides of it. Let's take 4 months and let's just hash it out. That's all we're asking. And I will vote no on, or I'll vote yes to move this forward, because it's just a 4-month pause. And I know some people don't like the word moratorium, but we're not saying we're closed for business. And the argument there is, I've heard that say, well, it tells every other business we're closed for business. No, it doesn't. That's feeding into the same thing they're accusing the other side of, saying, oh no, the sky is falling if we put a data center in. And then making a blanket statement that if we take a 4-month pause on data centers because we want to rewrite, or not rewrite, but write a code that's applicable, it's the same thing. So I don't understand the argument to pause for 4 months, to be honest with you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything else up here?
Your Honor, I think it'd be a good thing to take a break and look to see what other states have been doing. There's 14 states who are in it right now that don't want to be, and give us time to do research with these other states and to listen to some of the federal representatives like AOC and see what she has to say about that, and just give us time to get educated.
Okay. Anything else up here?
Yeah, can I get a comment? Yeah, so 72% of Americans don't want a data center in their community, period. And right now, there's only two sides to this. It's no data centers or put data centers here. Right now, I don't get what's so radical about putting a 4-month pause and sending it to planning and zoning. I don't get what's radical about that. So again, it's all the comments I hear are they don't want a data center. And I don't know who other counselors are talking to or whatever, but no one is demanding for us to advocate for, banks or the big businesses here in town or whatever. Everyone's saying no data centers. So I really don't get what's so radical about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes.
if I may, and this is kind of an open question. I wasn't able to attend the planning and zoning meeting last week, but I saw some minutes or some results from it that highlighted their plan to meet every other week in order to get this work done, to set forth the guidelines that we have asked for, that then we can apply for this category of data centers. And I guess I want to ask my fellow counselors, or Carol maybe, or if their timeline ended mid-November, and are we still on track that this 4-month pause would end pretty closely to that time?
In the memo for this item, there is a schedule for both the council hearings and passing of the temporary moratorium, as well as the work of the Planning and Zoning Commission, then bringing anything that the Planning and Zoning Commission would recommend back to council for readings. That would end, the third and final reading would be on November 23rd of all of that work.
One more question. Are those planning and zoning meetings, are they open to the public?
They're open to the public, and we televised the last one. We plan to continue to do that for these discussions. Yes.
Will that agenda, I know it's on here from August 6th through August 23rd. Will that agenda, or through November 23rd, I'm sorry. Will that be publicized in like the TR so people can be aware of it and have those opportunities to hear what's going on and to educate themselves and to watch our city at work as we're trying to answer these questions?
Well, we do post the agendas. They're posted to the public like a council agenda is. So I don't know if Alicia might be able to answer if they're notified.
We are not required by state law to publish the minutes for planning and zoning, only for city council. Agendas are required to be published. So those are posted on the agenda portal and also on the city website and our Facebook page and on the window here at City Hall.
And may I add, to
Yes.
help answer? I was approached to see if we could videotape and televise those meetings on our YouTube channel because this is such a divisive issue. Carol gracefully approved that. And so that first meeting last week, it's on the city council YouTube channel is where they at. So even though it's not city council meeting, that's where you go find them. And so you can watch that first meeting and so they'll all be on there, barring YouTube not shutting down.
Okay. Anything from the public?
Erin Carpenter, 802 North 4th Street. I am not pro data center, anti data center. I just don't want us to repeat the mistakes that we have made very recently in the past. Everyone remember the whole ground mounted solar debate and issue? There really wasn't anything in city code about ground mounted solar. And so some pieces were put in and they followed city code and they're I think I heard them described as a monstrosity. We need to update our code. We need to make sure that no one tries to come in to our community and bite off more than we can chew. What is our tolerance? What is our capability? For years, I heard that like we have to be very careful with industrial expansion because like we can provide some more water for toilets, but that's about it. What about the employers that are already here? What's going to happen if they can't, what if JBS can't get enough water for its processing?
The new systems don't use water.
Some of them do, but right now we don't have any rules stating that they can't.
Fair enough.
The rules are not there. So someone could propose it. With the old stuff, there's nothing stopping them. There's no rules. We have to have a process. We have to have a process for public to have input, and we have to make sure that the rules are in place to protect the people who live and work here and the employers that provide jobs for people who already live here. The solar panel thing, right? They were, what were they zoned as? Like an accessory building, like the same as a garage
For sure.
or something like that. And so, come on. I have solar on my home. Like I am so pro green energy, but what needs put in place, and I use AI, like what needs to be put in place are guardrails so that development doesn't destroy the community. It doesn't suck us dry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lee Botter, Marshalltown, Iowa. Aaron took a lot of my comments, so I'll narrow some down here. But the question I have is, why is there an issue taking a pause? They're doing it across the nation to make sure we as a city do our due diligence prior to steps being taken to allow a data center in Marshalltown. We've already taken the time and the dollars to encourage growth by looking at housing needs and promoting the arts. I did hear Mayor Laddihoff's and Councilman Snyder's interview on KFJB today. Good job, guys. One comment, however, was job creation, the 50 to 200 lives. I did use AI for this comment. According to AI, direct facility operations, a typical site requires roughly 1 to 2 workers per megawatt. For example, a 100 megawatt campus built by companies like Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure will typically have a core operations and engineering team of 100 to 200 people. Okay, that tells me maybe we're in a larger AI data center that we're looking at. There was a focus on getting dollars via tax revenue in the millions. I did hear you thank you, Councilman Snyder, for giving that information again. I would like to know the sources, though, and have those cited, please. Also, how is the money going to be spent? Concerns raised by the public is not fear-mongering. We are simply seeking information to make informed decisions and opinions. So far, I have not heard comments to address noise mitigation, what chemicals are being put into a closed-loop system, decommissioning if the company decides to leave our community. Will there be eminent domain if they decide to expand? Are there any NDA agreements being signed? Air emission studies, light pollution, what data is actually being kept? Is it data for military, national security in nature? I want you to keep in mind that some of the bombing that has went around the world is based on data centers. Do we want to put a bullseye on Marshalltown for military? Would you want to live next to a data center? I don't. Let's not be blinded by short-term financial gain. Instead, let's all look at the community term, the impacts to our community. Are we leaving a positive legacy to our children and grandchildren? I encourage allow the moratorium to allow us to get to these answers before we get backed into a corner and are forced just to live with the outcomes that may not be positive. They might be positive, but let's find the answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Hi, Brandy Glick, 2711 West Main Street. Um, so I've lived in Marshalltown for 3 years, and I don't have a lot of knowledge on data centers, but what I do view is we don't need to guess what data center does to an Iowa City. We have Iowa examples right now, and the math is the same whether it uses water or not. It does not work for Marshalltown, in my opinion. The resource math fails. Iowa cities are already paying for it. A fact, a hyperscale data center uses the power of 50,000 homes. Whether it's water, cooled or air cooled, the power load is the same. Meta Altoona, approved for up to 1.7 million gallons of water per day. During the 2022 to 2023 drought, Altoona residents were asked to conserve while cooling towers ran 24/7. Meta West Des Moines, over 1 million gallons per day. The city spent millions expanding water treatment to serve Meta. That cost is in West Des Moines water rates today. On the grid in December 2022 during the Christmas cold snap, MISO declared a level 2 energy emergency. All of Iowa was told to cut power. 2023 to 2024, Mid-American and ITC have warned that new large loads, including data centers, are driving the need for $3 billion plus in new transmission in Iowa. Who pays for transmission? All MMU and Mid-American ratepayers. You cannot make more power in a crisis. Air-cooled doesn't fix it. The chips still draw the same electricity. The substations still have to be built. The brownout risk is still on Marshalltown families. The fiscal math fails also. Iowa law guarantees we lose money for 20 years. Iowa Code 423.395 gives data centers a 100% sales tax and property tax exemption on equipment for 20 years, whether they use water or not. A $1 billion facility creates 30 to 50 permanent jobs. West Des Moines and Altoona gave up millions in property tax. They got a handful of jobs and massive strain on city utilities. For Marshalltown, that means we provide water, sewer, fire, police for 20 years and collect almost nothing back. Meanwhile, MMU has to build bigger substations. But who pays? Marshalltown homes and small businesses through higher rates. That is not economic development. That is a subsidy written into state law. The control math fails. Once it's here, we can never undo it. Altoona and West Des Moines now have 24/7 industrial campuses with generator testing, security fences, and truck traffic. And under state law, our local zoning authority is preempted. We give up the land forever, we give up control forever, and we get 30 jobs. Whether it uses water or air doesn't change that.
Your time has expired. Can you finish up?
Yeah, I just have one more point. Some will say, let's do a 4-month moratorium to study this. That's the wrong answer. Moratorium doesn't change the power numbers. It doesn't change December 2022. It doesn't repeal Iowa Code 423.95. It doesn't create more than 30 jobs. All a moratorium does is waste 4 months, give the developer 4 months to lobby and delay the no we already know we have to give. If the deal is bad today, it's bad in 4 months. Say no and save us the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's April Long. I live at 911 May Street. If for those of you who don't know, that's sort of on the far eastern side of Marshalltown, which would be, I would assume, fairly close to where a data center would be planted. One of you this evening said something about what was expected, how many jobs could be expected, how much revenue could be expected. Expectations are not reality. If they were, I'd have been married to my first husband still, as many of you would probably be as well. Expectations are not reality. the question of how many permanent jobs have been raised. These things are mostly automated. You're not going to get that many permanent jobs. Quality of life. We have some of the best water in the entire United States here. Do you want to take even a fraction of a chance that our water could be spoiled? I don't. And then there's noise pollution. There's light pollution. There's the farmland that'll be taken out, never to be used again. Quality of life is important to those of us who chose to live here. Something was said about electrical rates being stabilized until 2029. After 2029, what's going to happen? Are they going to jump? Are they going to make it so that we can't afford to live here anymore? I've heard that that's been happening in other communities. People are being forced to move because they can no longer afford the utilities for the homes that they've lived in for decades. Communities across our country are creating moratoriums and outright bans for data centers. They can't all be wrong. We're not that unusual. Asking for a moratorium and hopefully even a ban eventually makes us, I think, on the right side of history. We're not the only ones seeing a problem here. So job creation was something that was really talked about. And a few weeks ago at one of the meetings, it was also spoken about then. I'd like you to think of this analogy for creating jobs and businesses. You've got a fruit tree. The low-hanging, easy-to-pick fruit is there. It's easy. It gets results, but it's not always the best quality. The higher fruit is the sweeter fruit, the better quality fruit. It takes a little bit more to harvest that fruit, and it's worth it. So the data center is the low-hanging fruit. It's easy, you know. They apparently want to come here. Let's choose the more difficult path and find companies that are willing to come to Marshalltown, create more long-lasting jobs, and not spoil our community. I would urge you all to at least vote to have a minimum of a 4-month moratorium. Please listen to the citizens who've elected you.
Thank you.
Zachary Hamilton again, 2250 Shady Oaks Road. This seems to bleed over, I guess, in what I was talking about earlier. So one of the things that I did find is I queried AI to understand what sort of corporations might see Marshalltown as a beneficial place to be. And one of them was hyperscale data centers for 3 reasons. And if you recognize hyperscaler, they're the big ones. One is our proximity to Highway 30, which is considered an easy traffic corridor. One is the available land, farmland. And the other was proximity to power generation with Alliant. We know there's another plant going in also. That's not me saying I'm against a data center. That's just me recognizing that the risk here isn't small. We're not talking about a small scale data center. I went back and watched the recordings from the last 2 meetings, and I can't remember who it was, made the comment that this wouldn't be a large data center. Well, the content that those data centers are feeding disagrees. And it sees Marshalltown as a very likely candidate for a very large data center, which could be a very good thing for the community. But with that being said, Mr. Schneider, you commented about the setback requirement. And if you read through the document that I gave you, my understanding from what was shared at the meeting middle of last week was that also shown in that document is that the setback requirement is, I believe, 30 feet from the side. Now, if you live in the country, 30 feet setback on a rural property is not very much for something on the scale of a data center. Also, the noise requirements that would currently be used for these would be more in line with a city ordinance, not that a rural community is used to, which is likely where something like a data center would end up being. And so in that sense, I don't think that the current ordinances even really align with what the community that would experience this would be affected by. noise levels that are significantly lower in general than they are in the city. And so what's acceptable as 60 dB in the city maybe is closer to 40 in the country, which is a significant difference. And so when we think about a moratorium, I agree, it's not saying no, it's saying let's consider the very real risk here. And let's look at what this means in a community where this thing would actually be placed. And how do we regulate something like this so it's beneficial for everyone, so that those in that area can benefit from it, or at least not be adversely affected to the point that their lifestyle is significantly impacted? And how can we do it in a way that benefits the community? And I think that right now, with what we have in the ordinances, we don't have that. We have the ability for a large data center like that to really affect people in the immediate area. And so I am in favor of the moratorium to that effect. Not to say no, but to really give it some thought. So thank you.
Thank you.
Angelica Diaz, 305 West Southridge Road. So I'm here tonight because I deeply care about our community. First, I want to make it clear that I am not against economic growth, but we need to be intentionally aware about the type of growth that we bring into our community and ask whether this data center truly benefits our residents who already live here. These are large industrial facilities that require significant resources to operate. They consume large amounts of electricity to power, and these cooling systems, they require substantial water resources for cooling. This will cause an increased demand and impact residents through us having to pay higher taxes, utility rates, and other unforeseen expenses. We are not able to afford these increases. Many of us are already living paycheck to paycheck, and we're drowning. And we know what it's like for families to choose between having to pay an electric bill or buying food for the week. And we can't keep doing that. This rising cost of living, unable to pay daycare, we're trying to create this stable future, but at this point, that dream is just dead for many of us. But this is our community. It's our home. My husband and I, we are raising our child here. We're building our lives here, and we want to see this place succeed. We're standing here today because we deeply care about the future of this town, and this is why decisions like this, they matter so much. A project of this size has the potential to permanently change our community, and if we commit our land, water, energy resources, and infrastructure to develop that provides limited employment, we just need to ask, is this truly the best future for our people who already live here? Marshalltown does not need growth if it comes with a deadly cost. We cannot ignore the struggles our residents are already facing and approve a development that's just going to add additional pressure to our community. Why is there talk about a data center when residents right outside these doors, they can't afford housing, are drowning in medical debt, and unable to afford basic needs? We have an opportunity to choose a different path, and this is one that puts our people first. And I just want to end by saying this: what has kept us living in Marshalltown is the fact that we believe in this town. We love this town. We love the diversity. And as our elected officials, you were choosing by us to represent our town. We chose you because we trusted you with the responsibility. We are paying you from our taxes to represent us, and we are asking you to do your jobs and represent us. And a data center, that just does not represent us. And right here, I have just 6 hours of research that talks about all the our environmental risks, and I'm not even done. I'll send you more.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Your Honor, I have a letter from Alliant I'd like to read that was submitted. Says, Dear Mayor Loudon and City Council members, thank you for your leadership and service to the Marshalltown Committee. Alliant Energy has previously participated in discussions regarding proposed data center moratoriums in Marshalltown, and we appreciate the opportunity to continue serving as the resources as the conversations evolve. Because this topic has resurfaced, we respectfully encourage city leaders to consider current information regarding customer protections, electric reliability, and economic development before taking action that could restrict future investment opportunities. Our position remains unchanged. Responsible growth can occur while protecting existing customers. At Alliant, we're committed to existing customers do not pay for infrastructure needed to serve new large energy use customers. Reliability for current customers comes first. Investments and rates are subject to the regulatory review and oversight. Growth should benefit communities while protecting customers. Recent developments further reinforce these principles. Last week, Alliant Energy signed the expanded White House Ratepayer Protection Pledge. The pledge focuses on ensuring that existing electric customers do not bear the costs associated with serving large new energy users, including data centers. This mirrors the approach Alliant Energy has long followed in Iowa and Wisconsin. Customers who create new energy demand are responsible for the costs associated with serving that demand. Similarly, Alliant has committed to stable electric base rates through the end of the decade. We have consistently stated that economic growth, including investment from large industrial customers and data centers, is one factor supporting that commitment. President Trump recently cited Alliant Energy's customer protection approach and rate freeze commitment as an example on how utilities can support economic development while maintaining affordability for customers. In addition, ITC has announced that load growth will lead to reduced transmission costs. This reflects the fundamental principle that fixed systems costs can be spread across the broader customer base as the electrical system is utilized more efficiently. We recognize that data centers raise important questions regarding infrastructure and community impacts. Those are appropriate topics for public discussion. However, such questions can be addressed through the existing planning, zoning, permitting, and regulatory processes. A moratorium delays those discussions and may inadvertently discourage economic development opportunities before policymakers and residents have the opportunity to evaluate specific projects on their individual merits. We respectfully encourage Marshalltown leaders to continue examining the facts, asking questions, and engaging stakeholders before considering measures that could limit future investment opportunities. Our team remains available to provide technical information, energy planning expertise, and questions or answers to questions related to data centers, electric liability, customer protections, and economic development.
Thank you.
Jolene Ballard, 610 North 2nd Avenue. It's been an interesting discussion, pros and cons. Personally, I think a moratorium would be good. I can go over tell you what happened over in Tama County when two turbine companies started going through signing up farmers there, and a group of, this 4 years ago, a little over, and a group of farmers got together, or then they went to the supervisors, and the supervisors said, yeah, ordinances got there fine. Of course, they all got voted out of office too. So I appreciate the fact that you are all, most of you are for a moratorium to make sure everything is set in place so that we don't get it taken advantage of, and it will benefit the community. And I will say one thing though, I keep hearing about, well, this data center, it takes up all this water and everything, but it was built 10 years ago and everything. By that way of thinking, we'd still all be driving Model Ts. So, and also, if we don't do these data centers, China will eat our lunch.
Thank you. Is there anything else?
You can't get away without hearing from me.
I guess
I
not.
knew you would. Annie Greship, 2125 290th Street, Melbourne. I've got an article coming out in the paper tomorrow about this. You can't stop the moratorium or I won't get my articles. In fact, my articles are not they are not anti-data center. They are pro-facts, and that's what I'm digging on. But first off, what this reminds me of is the old saying, marry in haste, repent at leisure. I don't think that's a rule for a good life. I think what it's saying is don't rush into things when you don't know what you're rushing into. So, MISO started the regional power development a decade ago, more than a decade ago. ITC started their project in 2023. Alliant started the Bobcat Energy Project in 2025. This is not new stuff. It's not going to go away if you do a 4-month moratorium. So, if you're okay with a data center being a utility, then it should be regulated like a utility, and they're not. Data centers do not pay sales tax. They don't pay use tax. In most towns, they're not paying property tax. So I don't see where you're getting all the big money that's coming to town. If they are going to hire, what was that, 1 person per megawatt? Where are those 100 people coming from? Are they going to come from away to move here? Or are you going to produce jobs for people who live here? Because the construction jobs are not going to be local people. They're going to be good for the hotels and the restaurants, but they're not going to be hired from here. They're going to be union jobs from away. I'd be perfectly okay with a co-location data center because that would open entrepreneurial possibilities for the community. I know the Chamber of Commerce is interested in entrepreneurial development here. Cool. A hyperscale data center isn't going to do that. And I think that's all I have to say. You'll have to read my article tomorrow, if it's still in there.
Thank you. Okay. We have a motion and a second on the, John?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. John Hall, Marshalltown Area Chamber of Commerce. I'll try to be brief, but wanted to address a few of the components of the conversation tonight. So first, the question about, is it radical to look at putting a 4-month pause on things? If you all remember, this started as a conversation about a 2-year moratorium. So it started from a radical position and certainly has moderated to something that at least gives us a pathway forward with some of the conversations that we have had with prospects. I think the question about the moratorium specifically, when we were navigating through a zoning code overhaul, we didn't put a moratorium on place until we completed that process. We recognize that there are changes forthcoming, and we guide development through those changes and what the changes might look like at the end of it. So we've got the skill set within City Hall to navigate these conversations without forthright and outright banning for even just a short period of time. The comment was made about putting our people first. If you look at our unemployment rate as a county, it tends to trend higher, significantly higher than the rest of the state. That is entirely because of our construction workforce. We have a huge construction workforce. That was remarked on by the director of Iowa Workforce Development just a couple weeks ago. And so the idea of construction jobs is putting our people first. The conversation about permanent jobs, when you're looking at the average length of people staying in a job is somewhere right around 4 years. Having construction jobs that can be in the range of about a decade sounds like pretty darn close to permanent jobs for that industry in particular, in addition to the jobs that are created on the other side of it. There was a comment about state sales tax exemption. There are requirements that the state has for sales tax exemption. That does not exempt them from local option sales tax. You all control that purse string. So if they are purchasing equipment, they still have to pay local option sales tax if they're purchasing it locally. Additionally, property taxes. You all control the property tax exemption piece. That is not something the state can decide. You control that. And so just taking those items off the table of conversation. Rules on water use and consuming more than we have available. I would encourage folks to reach out to Waterworks. This is well within their purview. There are requirements in place about what water they've got available and how much a new consumer can be guaranteed. And then the conversation about the fruit of our labor, or the fruit component. This is a series of multi-years working towards being able to attract investment to Marshalltown, and it stems from everything from doing the certified site work to new water capacity that we were supportive of because we couldn't attract any industry to the market. Now we have an opportunity at projects that by and large don't use water, and so one of the examples of this is the Arion dark fiber. You want to talk about reasons why Marshalltown's on the radar for projects like that, like this. The dark fiber ring that we have access to here in our market is a substantial reason, because that is the necessary bandwidth for these large data centers. So again, this is kind of the coordination of a whole bunch of pieces of items that have come together. I encourage folks to look beyond, in particular, a lot of, attractive articles to read on social media maybe aren't always stemming from truth, or aren't stemming from our state. There's a great deal of propaganda around this that is very anti-data center, that a lot of it doesn't contain factual information, or contains very specific examples in very specific communities that are not what we are talking about here. And so again, we've got the strength of a team here inside the city of Marshalltown to lead through these conversations, even while city staff goes through the appropriate zoning code pieces, which I fully agree that we need to work towards including more zoning code. What I don't want to do is discourage potential investment that has been heading down the path to that end. I think that most of those, if not all of those, would be willing to be a part of the conversation and how we guide and put together these rules, so that that the city is getting what it needs, and that they can continue to feel like this community wants to see investment take place. So, thank you.
Lane Pier 20 East State Street, change of things here. I'm not going to just talk at you guys like I normally do. I've got a bunch of questions, so I'm hoping that maybe my time can't be used up while you guys are answering those. So the July 13th vote directed a temporary pause, but the staff memo says that the moratorium is not legally effective until adopted by ordinance. So I'm wanting to know what protections exist between July 13th and August 10th. Specifically, since the July 13th vote, has the city received any data center related application, request, pre-application material, utility inquiry, or development communication?
You want us to answer right now?
Yeah.
Or you want us to get it for you?
Huh? Oh, do you know?
Yes.
Yes, that's the case? Okay. Can staff identify the type of request without disclosing legally protected information? And is that request being accepted, processed, held, or evaluated for vested rights?
No.
Okay. And that's no to both? Or just no to the first?
May I make a suggestion?
Please do.
That we not answer these. This isn't really the appropriate forum to answer those kinds of questions. Lane, I'm happy to meet with you and talk to you about the questions that you have, and what I can answer, I will answer for you. Does that work for everybody, or public comment's not really a question and answer kind of setup?
I thought we're doing discussion item though, aren't we?
No, this is still public comment. You're talking about public comment during what is a resolution just to set the public hearing. This isn't even the public hearing.
Right.
So if council adopts the resolution, there will be a public hearing on this matter.
I thought it was pulled for discussion.
It is discussion, but you're giving public comment at this time on the item.
Okay.
So that not a question and answer situation. Happy to meet with you and talk to you about your questions.
I do believe other people had their questions answered.
Not in this way. Not in this way.
What way would be different? I can ask a different one if you don't like that one. Could an applicant who files after July 13th but before August 10th claim vested rights or legal reliance?
You can state your questions. Council will not be answering them at this time. I'm happy to help you after the meeting and get you the answers that you need.
would I be allowed to make that public?
Sure, it's public record.
Cool. Some other questions then that I have. Are there any known circumstances today that influence inclusion of the vested rights exception? Under Section 5, council may authorize exceptions by resolution. What standards would council use to decide whether an exception applies? How would the city determine whether a project is primarily a data center? If someone claims federal law, national security, or critical infrastructure status that requires an exception, what specific legal authority would the city rely on? Between the July 13th council vote and the August 10th hearing, will staff continue accepting data center related applications? Even if staff must accept applications, will staff continue processing them before August 10th? Can any data center related approval receive final city approval before the proposed moratorium is adopted? I think that's about all that I can go through without any response, so I'm just going to submit this for you guys, and I hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you, Lane. Okay. Yes.
Joe Carter, 610 Elmwood Drive, also president of Marshalltown Company. There was some discussion about, how this would affect local employers and taking care of us. I got to say the business community, the manufacturing community, unconcerned about putting a data center here. It's about the overall effect of what's happening in our community. And I think we're excited about bringing those jobs here, those property taxes here, so that we can share the load rather than having to take on more and more of that burden that we already do. It's important. I believe that there was a comment about, well, hey, if we just shut it down for 4 months, that really isn't any big deal. Somebody should be able to wait 4 months. And I've reiterated this story a few times that we were looking at Kansas City, Kansas. We knew we were looking at Kansas City in general, whether it was Missouri or Kansas, and which county could give us the best deal when we were looking at warehousing, putting in a 200,000 square foot facility that just went live late last year. There were some counties that were slow. And we were in a hurry. We were already renting space. And so 4 months to us made a big deal. It impacted our decisions because we couldn't wait for some people who had to think about what they were going to do in terms of incentives. So I throw that at you and say, if it really won't affect anybody, why have a moratorium? If you're going to move so quickly and you think that 4 months is too fast, so fast that it won't block anybody from coming in here, why would you have a moratorium then? Finish your timeline, do your work on this. I was a member of the chamber board. We talked about data centers at the time. We talked about moving things along economically. Marshalltown has finally started. In the 31 years I've been here, I feel like the last decade has been a major, major improvement. And the guy that just spoke, 2 people in front of me, Mr. Hall, out of the council, has done a phenomenal job. I was on the council when we hired him. I trust that guy. No one, and then I'm going to go back to, so I don't think he's going to do anything to hurt us. He already understands what's going on with water, and I wish that could be put to bed, that issue is just nonsensical. But I really think there is you want to tell people for 4 months that we're shutting down and we won't do this, and you don't think somebody will walk away. They go to Colo, or they go to Grundy Center, or this data center goes somewhere else. Not only would we stall off the positive things that would happen in this community to help, we also would, if you really believe the electrical rates or that would be a problem, we're on the same grid as Colo. We're on the same grid as Grundy Center. You're going to have these same problems. I do think that planning and zoning ought to do its work. You guys are already setting them out to do that, but a moratorium is not a good message to send to these data centers because they will look other places than just here. That's my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. You've already had your time at the. Thank you, though.
Did you say that the city has already been contacted by data centers that want to build here?
We have been contacted, yeah.
So it's under consideration.
Not yet.
I find this whole discussion ingenuous.
I just would like some clarification on something I heard. May I speak
What's that?
again? Thank you.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna go ahead and vote on this. I think people have had their say. I have a motion and a second on the floor.
Yes.
Okay, roll call, please.
Fonseca? Yes. Mitchell?
Yes.
Nichols?
No.
Schneider?
No.
Thompson?
Yes.
Yepes Gomez?
Yes.
Cahill?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Oh. Okay, next up is motions. Number 1.
Appoint Lane Perry to the Solid Waste Commission as an alternate with a term ending May 24th, 31, replacing Sherry Kokenar.
Okay, I have just a brief summary of Lane's application. Lane resides at 20 East State Street, I believe, and submitted his application on June 22nd. Lane is a Marshalltown resident and regularly attends city council meetings and serves on a steering committee for a local organizing effort. Lane works weekdays but can use vacation time to attend meetings. A resume was submitted with the application.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay.
Your Honor, I just want to clarify, this is not the executive board
No.
position. Every town has a representative, a citizen, not on the, like Mark and Marco are on the executive board. This is to be the alternate for the citizen that represents Marshalltown. Is that fair enough, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, roll call, please.
Schneider?
No.
Public comments?
Yes.
You kind of skipped us out here. I know we've been kind of noisy today.
You gotta jump quick.
Jolene Ballard, 610 North Second Avenue. I just wondered, there was an application, and I knew nothing about it. You have to go on the website to find that application?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to say one thing. I do not want a Democrat socialist on any kind of committee.
We're not doing politics here.
No,
Thank you,
no, no.
Jolene.
This is not politics. This is a takeover of government. They don't consider
No,
themselves a party.
Thank you, Jolene.
See you at the next library board meeting.
You betcha, I'll be there. Okay.
Don't call me stupid next time, no.
I didn't. Okay, roll call, please.
Nichols?
Yes.
Schneider?
No.
Thompson?
Yes.
Yepes Gomez?
Yes.
Cahill?
Yes.
Fonseca? Yes. Mitchell?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to resolution.
Resolution supporting the Central Iowa Shelter and Services Brain Injury Informed Shelter and Affordable Housing Project in Marshalltown, Iowa.
Move for approval, Your Honor.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
I'm sorry, I may not have got in fast enough for that, but is there an opportunity to ask to table this issue?
Do you want to hear from our guests first?
That would be okay.
Would that be all right?
Yes, I
Okay.
just wanted to
Since
know
they've
the
been
order.
here.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. And I'll just give a quick introduction to the item. This is a resolution that expresses support for Central Iowa Shelter and Services. It is also known as CISS. It's exploring a Marshalltown project that combines shelter component, affordable housing, and supportive services for individuals who may be affected by brain injuries or other cognitive challenges. This is a resolution that will assist CISS in pursuing grants and further developing the project. It does not commit the city to providing any funding or property or grant any kind of regulatory approvals. Any future requests for those items would return to the council for separate consideration. So with that, I'll turn it over to Melissa O'Neill, who is the Executive Director of CISS.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for taking the time today. My name is Melissa O'Neill. I'm the CEO at Central Iowa Shelter and Service, and just want to thank some of our staff that are here today. Sam Carroll, our Vice President of Rural Development and Strategy, is here, as well as Doris Argon, who's our General Manager at our Grinnell location, is also present to help support answering any questions. I do want to thank today Beverly Iverson for being here as attendant as well. The Iverson family are longtime residents of the Marshalltown community community. And it was through their call 15 months ago that has led us to where we are today in support of finding and building an emergency shelter here for the city of Marshalltown. That being said, we've learned a lot over the last 15 months as we knew that we needed to, open up some capacity within our own bandwidth in order to better look at and review the needs of the community. So with that, in the 15 months, I want to thank today Shelley Harvey and Josh Warnell for attending tonight's City Council meeting as well. Both of them have been very strong behind the scenes and helping to support the information that CISS needs to assess and determine the best not only location for the facility, but to meet the needs of the community. So with that, one of the things we looked at predominantly with our data that would really put the city of Marshalltown leading the way in the state with innovation around shelter and affordable housing and serving those that are unsheltered is brain injury. 63% of the individuals served within the emergency homeless shelter system have an acquired brain injury upon entry into the facility. The acquired brain injury oftentimes predates any spot of homelessness, mental health, or substance abuse, which is relatively significant when you think about all the systems and the complexity of navigating these systems in order to not only afford a housing, but afford putting the food on your table, or we learned today, paying your utility bills. And so all of those things coming together in one location to help support individuals that have been marginalized by the community, but have access to the affordable care and services they need. So with that, I actually asked Jim Penders from Iowa HHS to attend tonight as well, who is a state expert on brain injury and nationally recognized for the research, in which case we've had the opportunity through the support of the Iverson family to actually be a part of the National Association of States to do more research around the entire United States on homelessness and brain injury. We believe this is working upstream to prevent it from even happening, to make sure that people don't even need a shelter to begin with. That's actually the first thing people ask me is, do we need a shelter? My hope is to say no. Right? But the reality is the data speaks differently. And especially as we've heard about the Unity Point Hospital, those squatting over those winter months in particular, the importance of finding a place for people to reside, to be able to rebuild their lives and to be self-sufficient within your community. So I know I'm throwing a lot at you in a short period of time, but we do have a lot of content experts here in the room outside of me. And we look forward to the opportunity to work with the city of Marshalltown and hopefully City Manager Webb to continue to progress this idea and this concept for the city of Marshalltown.
Does anyone have any questions for Melissa? Thank you.
Yeah.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I would make a motion to table this item. I know after visiting with the group from CISS, we had a lot of questions, and some of those questions have not been answered. I feel we have not gotten significant answers on how they interact in some other communities and how the programs go. And this seems to be a pattern here, but I just feel we don't have all the information in order to sign a resolution that gives support without knowing everything we need to know. I guess one of my questions was, have our organizations who are already providing homeless help, have they been contacted and are they a part of this? And how can we have those who have had a long-term relationship with providing services, how can they be involved and a team member in this so that we can make this a successful program as it goes forward? And I'm not sure that we've done all of that legwork ahead of time. So I am putting forth a motion to table this until the time when we feel we have the proper information.
How do I handle this?
I'll second.
So a motion to table is not debatable. Just want to make sure that's clear. It is not debatable. I just checked the manual.
Your Honor, if I may.
Roll call, please.
Mitchell,
No.
Nichols,
No.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
No.
Yepes Gomez,
No.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca,
Yes.
A motion failed. Okay. Now we have a motion and a second on the floor and support. of Central Iowa Shelter and Services Brain Injury Informed Shelter, an affordable housing project. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Nichols?
Yes.
Schneider?
No.
Thompson?
Yes.
Yepes Gomez?
Yes.
Cahill?
No.
Fonseca?
No.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to number 2.
We have a public hearing and resolution authorizing vacation and conveyance of the portion of alleyway located in Block 1 of the West Lakes 3rd Edition to the town of Marshall, Marshall County, Iowa.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open at 6:56. And Deb, you're up.
Deb Millizer, Housing and Community Development Director. This item is a public hearing and consideration of the resolution. JBS requested for the vacation and conveyance of a 16-foot by 120-foot section of a dead-end alley near North 8th Avenue and Woodbury Street. So that would be approximately 0.4 acres. This was in front of council previously, and council requested that we reach out to the adjacent property owners and to see if they had an interest with somebody who was Spanish speaking, and we did make those attempts to do that. Staff attempted to contact the 2 adjoining property owners to the south with assistance from our Spanish-speaking city staff member. Neither property owner expressed interest in acquiring the alley. One neighbor supported the transfer to JBS, provided that JBS adjusts its fence to secure the area. If we remember previously, JBS was concerned about fires being set in the alleyway and the damage that could possibly be done to their property if it was left unmanaged. Staff also reviewed the areas of utilities, Alliant Energy, CenturyLink, and MediaCom have or potentially have facilities in that area. The resolution preserves easements and access rights for all existing public and private utilities. Sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and Marshalltown Waterworks reported no facilities within the proposed area. The alley is not currently usable by vehicles and is adjacent to previously vacated alley. Under the city's surplus property policy, the proposed sale price is $250. JBS would receive the property through a quit claim deed. Staff recommends approval of the resolution.
Thank you, Deb. Do I have any other public comment? Do we have anything written?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I declare the public hearing closed at 6:59 p.m. and move on to the motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Yepes Gomez?
No.
Cahill?
Yes.
Fonseca? Yes. Mitchell?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to ordinance.
Ordinance 15122 to amend the Code of Ordinances, City of Marshalltown, Iowa by amending Chapter 90, Animal Keeping, amending Sections 90.001, 90.003, 90.004, and 90.005 as they pertain to the keeping of domestic livestock and the keeping of poultry and domestic fowl. Second reading.
Move for approval, Your Honor.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This is the second reading. Is there any questions or comments from the?
Lane Period 20 State Street. I've got questions again, so I'll just try to make it into a story. So I was curious what the specific problem that the 5-acre requirement solves that the staff recommended 2-acre standard did not solve. If it's that there's too many properties that would qualify at 2 acres, was reducing the number of eligible properties the primary reason council moved away from the staff recommended 2-acre standard? And if yes, what problem would have been created by allowing the additional 2 to 5 acre properties to qualify? If it's about enforcement practicality, was acreage chosen because it's easier to enforce than animal count or husbandry standards? If yes, what trade-offs were considered? And if no, what analysis supported 5 acres? If it's about neighborhood compatibility, what compatibility issue exists on 2 to 5 acre properties that does not exist on 5+ acre properties? And I would want evidence to support that distinction, or if there isn't one, again, why was 5 acres selected instead of another threshold? If it's about animal welfare, how does the ownership of 5 acres improve animal welfare compared to ownership of 2 acres? If it's that there's more available space, does this ordinance require animals to actually use that space? If it's about better care, why not regulate care standards directly instead of acreage? If it's about the spot zoning avoidance, which I know was talked about, why was the staff recommended 2 acre solution insufficient? And if it's about complaints or nuisance concerns, what nuisance concern is the 5 acre requirement intended to address? And why are we using acreage limits instead of animal count limits, setbacks, noise standards, sanitation standards, enclosure standards, or slaughter restrictions? Could the concern be addressed through direct standards rather than land ownership requirements? Do you guys want this too?
Yeah. Thank you. Mr. Darter.
Joe Darter, 2225 West Main Street Road. And I'm just here to say that Appleberry hosted over 150 Ragbrow riders. Okay. And thanks to the committees, Sue, for everybody that helped set this up. I think there was at least a dozen different groups, vans, buses, tents through the apple orchard. People set up, and then they walked the farm, and we got so many comments of the animals. They loved it. We got so many people said they'd come back. Kelly's got emails from people that landed in Dubuque that they had a great time, and thanks to you guys that let that happen. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Your Honor, I didn't know that you came up here yet. I don't have any particular problem with Appleberry Farm having these or the cemetery having these. I'm going to make a motion to change the minimum limit to 19 acres.
Do I hear a second on that?
Second.
To 19 acres?
Move it up from 5 acres to 19 acres.
Okay. I have a motion and a second.
Your Honor, this is Doug Herman, the city attorney tonight.
Why, thank you.
Can you hear me?
You betcha.
Okay. And I know I'm not involved in the meeting tonight necessarily for this purpose, but I've been kind of listening along. And my understanding, the amendment is to amend a term of an ordinance that's under consideration.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Just as a guidepost, it sounds to me like this would be a pretty significant change to the terms of the ordinance that was presented. And if this is a second or third reading, which I believe it was from what I heard, if you're going to change the acreage from a pretty low number to 19 acres, that's pretty significant and would require that you start over with the first reading.
Okay.
That said, you can still kind of take action on this amendment and decide, but my opinion as your legal counsel tonight, though, is if this amendment would pass, that there's a desire of the council to change that acreage number significantly, then you would need to return to a first reading.
Okay. So we need to go ahead and vote on the amendment first. Roll call, please.
Yepes Gomez?
No.
Cahill?
No.
Fonseca?
Yes.
Mitchell?
No.
Nichols?
No.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
No.
Okay, the amendment, okay, we are back to 5 acres. And this is the second reading.
May I make a comment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Lane, I will wait for me outside. I can't speak for the whole council, but I could answer all those questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, if I may,
Yes.
I don't think this 5 acre minimum is going to make any difference because the people who are not going to obey it, they're going to have chickens. There's chickens on 3rd Avenue and Webster. The police department was aware of it. They were still there today. So people's not going to obey the rules. So 5 acres is great.
Anything from the public?
Linda Clark, 306 South 2nd Avenue. And my property is just under 1 acre. And back in the day when my dad was alive, we had all of the things that are being regulated today. We can't have chickens. We can't have this. We can't have bees. We can't have nothing. Well, my yard is a pollinator yard. And I'm happy to say that it's probably going to end up being a museum when I am deceased, because I am 77 years nearly at that address. And I am proud to say that I live in Marshalltown and I do speak up when my mouth is needed. Thanks for my time.
Thank you. Okay, let's have a roll call, please.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Schneider,
No.
Thompson,
Yes.
Yepes Gomez,
Yes.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca,
Yes.
Okay, moving on to discussion. Motion to untable the railing options for Center Street Viaduct. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to bring it back from the table, Your Honor.
Second.
Okay. Let's have a roll call, please.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Yepes Gomez,
Yes.
Okay. Here, untabled. Heather?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Heather Thomas, Public Works Director. I also have Ben Dulesky, the project coordinator during construction with me this evening. Before I go into the options that were requested, I just want to briefly outline the recommendation before we start. Tonight, I'm going to be recommending that we request a change order from the contractor to remove the blast, cleaning, and painting of the existing pedestrian railing from the current contract. I'm going to ask that you have city staff further explore discussion regarding the contractor and the previous direction to proceed with chain link in specific to the $40,000 restocking fee. I'm going to ask that you have city staff go out and address the sharp and exposed metal edges. That dressing would be a rubberized filler material and sealant over the top, with the rust and flaking paint remaining. And last, I would ask that the council work in strategic planning session and community discussions to identify and provide direction to city staff regarding the ultimate direction for the railing moving forward. And these recommendations are kind of based on some upcoming projects, costs, timing of the project, and current UP Railroad and DOT involvement in this project, some of which was not known here a couple months ago when these items came forward. Going into this, there's been a couple of council members and public who have reached out with additional questions regarding some of the presentations over the last couple of months. So to provide some of that context and background, the Center Street Viaduct railing that we are talking about tonight includes about 330 feet, which are directly over 11 tracks of the UP Railroad. Some of those are side tracks, set out tracks, storage tracks, and then also the main tracks going through as well. What we consider the viaduct, we've got about 1,434 feet of it that are over what I would consider a viaduct piece. It looks like a bridge piece. The north end we call the vaulted abutment, and that's about 274 feet. When the railings went in, the project was from 1947 to 1951. And the unique piece of this is how the railing was attached to the bridge. So the north vaulted abutment is surface mounted, which is the picture on the right-hand side. And the viaduct or bridge portion of it was mounted to the structural superstructure underneath. And those posts actually come up through the cantilevered sidewalk. And those pieces and elements of the bridge is one of the reasons the complexity of this railing is what it is today. In 1951, when this was opened, this railing was the same railing that was installed on the Center Street Lynn Creek Bridge. So this project that we're currently doing is only addressing the viaduct. It is not addressing the Lynn Creek Bridge. However, the Lynn Creek Bridge is coming forward for replacement here in the next few years as well. So that railing, again, matches the existing railing on the Center Street Viaduct. Our current project was bid with a blast cleaning and painting of the pedestrian railing, and it did include a containment or track protection item, but that was a mobile containment. So that is basically an envelope. I'm going to call it plastic, although I don't really think it's true what people call polyplastic, that mobily moves along from the upper side of the bridge as they're blasting and painting that railing. Not included in the project were any repairs if and when they became necessary after blasting occurred. And the large piece of the change in recommendation from city staff is related to UP coordination and their requirement that if we have to do any type of repair work, they would require a higher level of track protection and hot work associated with that. That would include a demo submittal. Again, I talked about track protection and hot work protection, fire watch, and flaggers present the entire time. But probably the most important thing is a stoppage of work. Anything above the tracks, that's 11 tracks, anytime there is a train within 50 foot of the work zone. There's also a 25-foot offset for certain situations too. Anytime there's a train parked underneath the area of work, it would require a variance if we were to proceed with that work with the train still within that 50-foot zone. So that is quite a bit of coordination with the UP Railroad that they have not always been upfront and forthcoming during construction as we've been trying to navigate this potential change order. Also, there is a concern right now that we want to make sure the current project, as far as blasting and painting, that the expectation is set that that would not be a long-term solution. That was never intended to be a long-term solution. We know that any painting efforts today would likely flake and not provide what some people may expect as a 15-year solution. So that was the existing contract. Another option in front of you would be option 2, which is to do the contract, which is blasting and painting, but we do believe repair work would be needed in some of these areas. The extent of that repair work is a little bit unknown right now. Assuming $150,000 worth of repair work, because of the UP Railroad's recommendation on track protection and hot work, we'd be looking at a contract change of an increase of about $360,000 with those assumptions. One thing I do want to note is that in 2005, this railing was removed. New posts were installed. So all of the posts out there right now are new based on 2005 install. All the handrails are existing, were there previous to that, were removed, were sandblasted, painted off-site and reinstalled with some very, very minor repairs. But by 2009, we found correspondence where the paint was already failing on those components and not lasting past 4 years. Option 3 is an option that was presented to you previously with the additional new information from the railroad. This is a black vinyl chain link fence, which would be mounted to the side of the bridge in that viaduct stretch. So 660 feet of it, so 330 on each side, would be 10 foot tall. The remainder would be 4 foot tall. The existing fence is 3.5 foot tall. The new additional information that we've received from the UP Railroad is that the track protection, especially the hot work associated with removing the existing railings, would add significant costs. Our contractor would not be willing to do this on a lump sum basis because we don't know how much stoppage of time and flagging would be required for that work. But their best estimate based on those preliminary conversations so far is $210,000. One concern with this option is what the condition of the superstructure is underneath those existing mounts. So if you look on the right-hand side of the screen, in the viaduct portion right now, those black posts have a plate that have 10 bolts mounted in them. The very upper right-hand picture is where we have removed one of those plates since this was initially brought to you guys in May, and you can see the oxidation and corrosion underneath those plates. The quoted attachment method for the chain link fence would be the picture that I drew with the blue and red marked up on the photo. So those are new posts that would be installed, and there would be U-straps going around the new posts into the existing superstructure. Our concern would be the attachment and adjacentness of the existing oxidated, corroded superstructure and the new post, and what that would ultimately do to the lifespan of that post. For that reason, we asked for a price from the contractor to spot clean and paint that attachment, which is at the bottom right hand, so that when we are putting a new post against it, it does not deteriorate prematurely, that new post. That cost was about $125,000. So when you add track protection and that spot painting of that attachment, that would be a contract change plus the $109,000, which I think went up just a little bit because that July 1 date of $109 to add another $16,000, totaling an additional increase of $480,000 to proceed with the black vinyl chain link fence. Because of the option and concerns about the attachment, we provided another black vinyl chain link fence option. We're going to call that option 4. And instead of removing the bottom portion of that post, we would now be sleeving a new post within the existing one. So there in the picture, they would cut off the top of the post, which again, those posts are new in 2005. The new chain link fence would be sleeved down inside that 4x6 post. The annular space would be filled, domed on top, and that would proceed, and that would then eliminate that spot painting underneath. We would still have the required track protection and hot work from the UP Railroad. It does result in a lower cost than option 3 by about $136,000, but this would still result in a contract change order increase of the existing by about $343,000. Option 5 is a more ornamental fence, but it has a black vinyl chain link fence in the background. Again, we're talking about the 660 feet of it being 10 foot tall, 330 on each side, the remainder being 4 foot. We do still have that similar concern about how it's going to be attached to the side mounts on the viaduct portion. This does meet UP requirements as far as not having openings greater than 2 inches, which is why that is required to have some level of a mesh or chain link option combined with a fence option that has openings greater than that. So that's why we're kind of having that dual thing. There was a question previously if you could put the black vinyl coated chain link fence up now and add the other elements in the future. We're going to say no on that just because of how the posts need to be designed around to accommodate both objects. And the cost of doing this would be an increase in contract change order of $1,647,800. Option 6 takes that, instead of doing, I'm going to call it daintier metal work with the background chain link fence, it's a little more structural metal. And instead of a chain link diamond pattern 2x2, this is a 2x2 square mesh piece. Again, conceptual numbers at this point. However, we are looking at a contract change order increase of $1,922,800. I'm going to throw option 7 out there, but I will preface this saying that the UP Railroad has some concerns with this option. They did not say no. They have an exception in their construction manual right now that talks about like a wrought iron fence or a vertical slat fence in cases where there is a concern of vandalism of chain link. And in those cases, they allow the vertical members to be 3 inches apart, which is what we're trying to simulate in the photo here. So we would need to go through UP Railroad special approvals if we can justify a vandalism risk of a chain link option. But something of this nature, again, we're looking at an increase in cost of $1,922,800. Option 8, and this is the option that we are recommending, is at this time to go ahead and remove the blasting and painting from the existing contract. What I have in front of you on the screen is we went post by post and railing section by railing section to review the condition and any safety concerns of the existing railing. When I say safety concerns, I am not referring to height. The height has been 3.5 feet since 1951, and at this time, neither the DOT or the UP Railroad is making us and requiring us to increase the height from their requirements based on the project that's outlined on the repair regarding the finger joints, the roller bearings, and the deck drains. So safety to us is sharp edges. We have had a conversation with our city attorney. The fact of a rusting metal or flaking paint is not a safety concern from a liability standpoint, but having metal structural members that are deteriorated or sharp edges is. So our intent is to look at those concerns only when we're referring to safety. There are 3 colors, dots on the bridge. Green are areas that we have existing railing sections that are currently or planned to be removed. Because we're doing work in that area, those railing sections can be reinstalled, or in some cases may need a little bit of tweaking. Yellow are areas like the 2 pictures in the upper left and upper center. Those are what I'm going to call typical conditions where there's rust, there's flaking paint, definitely aesthetics are not there. If you blast it, you could get into some areas where you might be creating a few sharp edges. But other than that, that would be, I would consider typical conditions. The red photos that are outlined, the upper right is a photo you guys saw 2 months ago, and I think it scared a lot of people. That is the worst spot on the entire 3,600 feet of railing. The bottom right is another spot where the top rail, where people would potentially put their hand, has sharp edges and holes, and it's not good. It's not safe. That is the 3rd worst spot. The bottom center is a location where the existing carriage bolt on the railing, the top head of the carriage bolt is missing. It is still not able to be moved. I grabbed it with both hands, tried to move it around. It does not move, but that is something that can be addressed. What it is that bottom rail is a C channel or a U channel that's upside down. It's got a member underneath, so it can't go up because of the top. It can't go down. It can't go side, but it's still missing a bolt or an intact bolt. And then the bottom left is also a couple small pinholes that are starting to form. The total cost on this, actually, I'm going to go one more. I mentioned that I'd like you to have city staff go in and address some of those issues. So that 3rd worst option, which was the lower right from the previous slide, we did a test to see what it would take to go in and address those safety concerns. We went in there, we used a rubberized sealant to fill those holes, eliminate those sharp edges from being able to be touched. Then we used a 3-coat system to go over there and kind of seal it up to, again, delay further deterioration for the short-term time frame. I want to reiterate, we're not going for aesthetics here. The can. The final coat did say semi-gloss, which is what the center top was. But by the time I went back a couple days later, it looks a little more flat black. There's not a lot of options on the product we're using. So we're not going for aesthetics. We're not going to sand stuff, make it smooth and clean and pretty long term. We're going for safety. One of the benefits of this option is that when we reviewed that critical area over the UP Railroad, so that 330 feet, none of those areas were to this extent of the pinholes, because I don't think I can go in there and do the same thing we did over there without some more UP coordination. The objects and the defects we found in those 330 feet are probably going to be us going through with a rubberized sealant and a putty knife when the UP is not looking and filling a hole, okay, and moving on. We're probably not going to come back and paint and peel off some flaking paint or anything like that, but those are to a lesser degree than the areas that we have on your screen in front of you. The contract change on this, again, would result in a $245,100 deduct from the current contract price. So this recommendation is a change from what's come before you. Timing is part of it, and I'm not just talking about timing of this project. I'm talking about timing of the next phase of this project. So prior to me being here, prior to Ben being here, actually prior to Stanley Consultants' current project, individuals that are involved, there were people before us who brought an item to council in June of 2021 that talked about the existing bridge and the approach to making repairs to the bridge. And the direction from City Council at the time was a phased approach. Phase 1 is the current project we're looking at. It included repainting the existing railing. Phase 2 was a project at that time was anticipated to be 10 to 15 years later. So from 2021, 10 to 15 years later, which would now be 5 to 10 years from where we are today. That would include replacing the railing at that time, along with some other items, one of those being painting of the superstructure. So basically everything you see in green on your screen is the superstructure of the bridge. Because of the interaction of the railing attachment to the bridge and the superstructure that needs to be painted, I start to question from a financial perspective how much doing some of it now, some of it later, and having to do some rework in those areas is cost effective. The bottom picture is the worst section existing right now on that side C channel. The top left is a better section. I'd say the top right is more typical of what you see out there today. Based on what that report from 2021 said, again, it was 10 to 15 years out from that time, which means we're 5 to 10 years out from this time. That report did not address the light poles that are on our bridge. Our light poles also need to be addressed. And so it would make sense to address our light poles at the same time that we're addressing the railings. So again, those, when I say timing concerns, that's basing our recommendation tonight, some of those things are factoring into the request tonight and recommendation for you guys to delay work on the existing railing. This is a slide that has way too many numbers on it, but it is the basis of all of those numbers and a summary of all of those numbers I've presented as far as whether the change in the project cost is going up or down, how much, and the different components individually that those are. So as we're talking moving forward, as far as if there's going to be some additional discussion long term, what we want to do with the railing, this can help provide a little bit of a budgetary context. You know, as a standalone project, if we go with a black vinyl chain link fence in the future, we're probably looking at just north of $1 million. If we go with something a little bit more decorative, maybe a little more historic, you're probably in the $2.85 million project. Timing wise of the options, Option 1 we decided was not viable. Option 2 and 3 and 4, which are all related to blasting, repairing, painting, or black vinyl coated chain link fence. That would be a spring of 2027 project. If we go a little bit more to a more decorative, it would require additional UP review. So that would be pushing it later into 2027. Currently removing the blasting and painting from the existing contract and having city staff go in and do those repairs or safety concern addresses, that can still be accomplished this year. Again, I'll reiterate the recommendations that are based on, I think, what is going to be the best use and timing and finally financial cost considerations moving forward. We would request that the change order to remove blast cleaning, painting of the existing railing occur. I want to ask for permission to go ahead and further discussions with the contractor on the $40,000 restocking fee that previously came to you. There was a question about why would we entertain that because there was not a formal signed contract change order. There was not a formal signed contract change order. However, there was a motion 7-0 that directed city staff to have Boulder proceed with the black vinyl coated chain link fence. So semantics, if this went into a lawsuit, the city attorney has weighed in and said, well, technically there's no change order, so we might have a leg to stand on there. But from a practical standpoint, when you're managing projects, especially projects that impact the public greatly, we try to keep projects moving forward the best we can in the most expeditious manner. And with that direction that was given by council, at this point, if we would then not honor the direction that was voted on by council in a 7-0 vote, there is a reputation and an ability for us as project coordinators in the field to gain that trust of the contractor and do damage to that. So what that would mean is if we are downtown on a Main Street project and our current contractor on that project found something underground that was going to cost them more to take care of, instead of having them proceed and not delay projects, I need to wait 3 weeks till I can bring a formal change order to you guys for a signature. And the more times we back course on some of those actions, again, this was not city staff going out and telling a contractor to do the black vinyl coated chain link fence without coming to council with direction. And I realized it was a discussion item, not a formal resolution and change order. But that's why I'm asking for your guys's ability and direction for me to go back and have that conversation with the contractor. I'm not going to bend over and say, yes, here you go, here's 40,000. But I do want to understand where their basis is for that number. Did they order material that nobody will take as a return? Is that material a 10-foot chain link fence? If so, okay. Do we have a need or a desire as a city to maybe just purchase that material for cost? We have Riverview Park has 10-foot black vinyl coated chain link fence around the new pickleball courts. It does not have fence in the 2 courts next to it. Maybe you're extending that fence at some time and there's the material for that. So those are the kind of conversations I want to have with the contractor right now, is to understand really how that $40,000 was made up and see where we could maybe find a negotiated middle ground. Again, have city staff address those sharp edges and then ultimately provide city staff direction moving forward in our upcoming project. Whether that's 3 years out, 5 years out, 8 years out, I don't have an answer for that. But providing that direction to city staff, whether we're going with a black vinyl coated chain link fence replacement option, or if there wants to be additional community involvement and engagement to a more decorative fence, having those conversations early on when we're able to have those discussions with the UP Railroad as they're reviewing our design plans and not in the middle of construction is going to be the best case outcome for everyone. While I make those recommendations, I want to update you guys on 3 additional things: timing, costs, and some general background information. Our current project, this is our schedule. They started April 6th on the project. We are currently at a 151-day working contract, which is the original 120, the 24 days that were added with change order 1. There are 7 days requested with change order 3, which is now going to be the item after we talk about after this item. And so if you look at those, the recognized holidays, we restricted them from working during RAGBRAI. That currently puts them at a November 12th as the last working day. If there are weather delays, which there likely will be, we've been very fortunate. I think we've only actually had 2 weather delays right now, 2 days that we did not charge them working days because the weather prohibited them from working. We would be looking at a November 12th completion date. I want to talk a little bit about costs. We have 3 things that are coming to you at a future date. There was a couple of steel members in the south abutment that we needed to replace. We're estimating a cost of $2,000. There is a splice that needed in a C-channel. We're estimating $4,000 for that. And then probably the piece that we don't have a cost yet for is the expansion joint railing section. So what that is the old bearings were removed. The new expansion bearing was put in, and to match up the existing posts of the existing railing with the new bearing, the members, the supportive members are slightly spaced differently, and so we need to take those existing posts and slide them out, which is not the end of the world. We can shorten the existing railing on the outside, but that means the actual expansion portion of the railing that slides in and out will need to be refabricated, redone, or something. So there'll be something that comes back related to that. And again, if your direction tonight is to remove blasting and painting, we will then work with a contractor to figure out the most cost-effective way to take care of what is in basically these 2 posts that you see on the screen. There are 4 of those on the bridge, 2 on each side, and there's 2 expansion joints. I will also note that one of those areas is an area that has completely oxidized and corroded through, so that would have required some level of metal repair anyways from city staff to be able to handle that. While we talk about this project, just for general information on a railing background, again, bridge was opened in 1951. The current railing was part of that big bridge brush up in 1997. City staff went in and did the prep work on that. The community painted it. In 2003, a steering committee evaluated railing and lighting options for the bridge, and they selected a new bridge railing. They selected new lights. They also selected I'm going to call it a guardrail or a additional handrail that would go on the concrete barriers between the pedestrian walkway and the drive lane. None of that was installed because the bids came back in 2005 higher than the engineer's cost estimate. And for cost cutting reasons, the railing was not replaced. The lighting was not replaced. Again, they replaced the posts to handle safety and structural concerns. They revamped the handrails. They kept the posts on the light poles, but they changed out the heads. And so there is definitely some background on the railing. And I think moving forward, we would just ask as we start another project, which we're going to have with the painting of the superstructure, which seems to make sense to incorporate the railing at that time, that we have some direction to city staff before we start those. With that, I will open it up for questions and ask for a recommendation to direct city staff as outlined in this
Your
slide.
Honor.
Yes.
Do you want a motion or do you want the public to weigh in first?
Let's let the public weigh in.
Linda Clark, 306 South 2nd Avenue. I very much appreciate it, everything Heather has said. Back when that viaduct was done and the people worked on painting it and everything, there was no semi-traffic going across the Center Street Bridge coming up to Main Street in Marshalltown. Now we need to have that bridge fixed to the best possible effective way that the railroad, which we do need, we don't want them angry at us. We don't want the people angry at us that we don't have that bridge opened. I have personally been using some rubberized stuff to fix things on my own personal property. So I very much appreciate everything Heather has said here tonight. But I would encourage the council and everyone, we need to move forward with this. She's got very good ideas. I say just get rid of the sandblasting and all that stuff. Let's do it right. Get the chain link up, get the bridge open so that the semis can go across it. And that would be my suggestion. We don't need to have antique look. We need to have functionable bridge that everybody feels safe going across. And I think she's made some very good recommendations here, Council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Linda. Anyone else?
Lane Perry, 20 State Street. I just had a couple questions while I was listening to all this, and I'm sure it's stuff that you guys have already looked into, but just because I don't know, did we okay? So I know that they want the 10-foot fence because they don't want stuff falling onto the tracks from the bridge. Did we consider like any other sort of protection, like a I don't know what you call them, but it's kind of like a covering of the rails itself? Not, am I making sense?
Okay, what's your other question?
My other question was, with it being kind of like a historical thing, did we look into like any grants to help pay for this? And if so, what did they not go through?
Okay, we can vote.
As far as any type of safety net, I believe is probably what he was referring to for the first item. That was not part of this project. We did not look into that. At this time, there has not been a need that's warranted an additional thing, and I probably regretting saying that at this point. But as far as that is where we go. Grant-wise, we did receive a $1.5 million grant to help us fund this existing project that we have here. It was not specifically tied to the historic nature of the existing railing. It was related to the condition of the bridge.
Anyone else?
Heidi Dalal, 1504 Brentwood Terrace. Thank you for allowing the extra time for staff to provide the information that you guys have had tonight. Heather, you did an incredible job. You and your staff are always doing a great job. And I know there's been a lot to this project that you guys just simply didn't know until much more recently. So I do, again, really appreciate the time that you guys have taken to really understand truly what this looks like. The option 8, I hope you all support that. I think this makes a lot of sense that we now know what we're dealing with as opposed to just a couple of weeks ago. I do see this as a first step in our best effort collectively as a community, really addressing this. Unfortunately, you are all in the seats to have to deal with some of these deferred maintenance that happened, so long ago. And I think there's probably a lot of reason why there's a lot of community interest when you get people involved in helping paint something, even if it was in 1997. I think that's where a lot of the sentiment in the community that I've been hearing of, can't we keep what we have? And I think that's how we've gotten to where we are today with wanting to keep that look of what we had. And so knowing that this is the extra special viaduct into our historic downtown, again, just appreciate the time that you've taken and fully support what the staff is recommending, and happy as always to be a community partner in these conversations and look at some alternatives as this can be included in phase 2. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor?
Yes.
So I also will support Heather's recommendation at this point in time for the rubberized coating. Not that I think that the rusty rails are such an attractive look, but also to be very aware that now I think our community partners have some time to raise that difference, because I don't see, basically based on what state has done to city government's income, we would have to in 5 years take the lower cost option unless community leaders come forward and say we can make up that difference.
I'll second.
I would echo everything that Greg said. Thank you, Greg, for taking it. But it'll make our people a lot happier getting that bridge opened up right away. So we'll go with this one.
Any other comments?
Your Honor, just a comment, Heather Ben, I appreciate redoubling efforts on this and the pragmatic approach that you're suggesting. I will be supporting this.
So I have a motion and a second.
Proceed
All
with the staff
recommended is
recommendation.
8.
Number 8.
Basically all of your recommendations. So we're throwing change order number 3 away and moving forward with your recommendations.
Change order 3 as presented in previous council meetings, yes, would be no longer on the table.
Okay, roll call, please.
Yepes Gomez,
Yes.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, yes, we're moving on to resolution number 7.
Resolution approving contract change order number 3 for the Center Street Viaduct Rehabilitation Project being Iowa DOT DHM 4797629 the city project number STR 21002, an increase of $87,970.70.
I hear a motion to approve.
Move to approve, Your Honor.
Second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Go ahead, Ben.
Ben Dulesky, Civil Engineer 2, City of Marshalltown. So for this, the Class A deck repair was based on amount of 20% for the north abutment. That vaulted section that she showed, they're doing a deck overlay in that section, but that Class A was expected to be about 20%. It ended up being about 50%. And so this increased quantity reflects actual conditions and is necessary to achieve the required deck performance. There was a deck overlay in 1977, but I think the initial thought for that 20% of deck repair was that there was deck repair done at that time. Looking at the condition of the bridge there was no deck repair at that time. They just overlaid it. So that's why, we have the additional deterioration of what was kind of expected. So
Anyone have any questions? Anything from the public? Roll call, please.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Yepes Gomez.
Yes.
Okay, I believe that is the end of our regular agenda. Do I hear a motion to go into closed session?
So
I move.
I'll
Second.
Okay.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Greg would. Yeah, okay. That
Thank
was
you.
way too fast. Okay, roll call, please.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca,
Yes.
Mitchell,